The Scholastic Ball Report is sponsored by UK Sports Medicine and by Central Bank, Crown Trophy, Double Dogs, Ford Brothers Auction, Kentucky Orthodontics and Invisalign, La Rosa's Pizza, Mingy Beef Jerky, Panel Swim Shop, Prep Spin, P-Rats, Rafferty's, Raising Cane's, Roberts Insurance, Sutherland Chevrolet, and by Whitaker Bank.
Hello, and welcome to the Scholastic Ball Report. I'm Bridget DeVries, and I will be sitting in as host for the next couple of weeks. We have got a great show for you tonight. As always, we have a special feature from WKYT staff from around the state. Our football team this week is from Frederick Douglass. They will be our team of the week. And we have a new feature, Behind the Scenes. This will highlight some of the special things that go on in high school sports to get the sports programs going and happening. There's many things that go on that you don't see that are very interesting. And we have a special guest this week, Rob Catron, who's the Information Technology Director from the KHSAA, is going to talk a little bit about his role and the importance of technology during the pandemic. And from Nicholasville, we have the Sutherland Chevrolet Drive of the Week. They're going to take us on down the road for some great sports action. And we also are going to continue on with our feature on legendary football coach Philip Heywood from Belfry High School. UK Sports Medicine, our feature this week is with Dr. Benjamin Wilson, and this is a very timely topic about ACL surgeries in high school sports. But we know what you want. You want the best highlights in high school sports from around the state. We call it Game Time, and it's brought to you by Brian Milam and Lee K. Howard.
Douglas 7-1 didn't start well for Douglas. A pick six to start the game, and then Zachary Taylor shows his presidential resume, gets a hand on it. James Taylor with the INT. It is 21-0 Owensboro. But wait a minute, the Broncos charge back. Samuel Cornett is gonna let it go, and Dane Key is there. The catch, he pulls away 83 yards, 21-7 Douglas. This touchdown marks 27 unanswered. Cornett to Dakel Crowdis, 27-21 Douglas. But the Red Devils get the ball all the way down to the 7, under 2 to go. Gavin Wimsatt to Ethan Avery, and he just gets inside the pylon. Owensboro up by 1. It comes down to this. Cooper Ranvier can win it. A 27-yarder. Wide left by inches. Owensboro survives 28-27.
Welcome back to the Scholastic Ball Report. William Warfield here, the King of Stream, and we're joined by the Frederick Douglass Broncos, having an outstanding season once again. They're in a title hunt once again this season. Coach Nathan McPeak, Jagger Burton, and Dakel Crowdis all joining us here today. And Coach McPeak, just talk to me about being able to play this season, and these two guys that you got here.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for what the Scholastic Ball Report does for the local area teams, and we appreciate you guys having us on tonight. Back in March, we weren't sure when all this happened. It kind of hit us like a ton of bricks. We weren't sure what the future was going to hold. There was a lot of times where we didn't know if we were ever going to get a chance to play. Starting June 29th, we were able to get in some small pods and lift and do some things outside and eventually get back in the weight room and have a season. So it's a credit to these kids and the players and the coaching staff and all the community support that we've had to get to this point. And I'm extremely proud of our players for what they've endured during the year, especially these two young men as seniors, with Jagger and Dakel, and just living our core values and being part of our Bronco program. They're both outstanding young men that do things the right way, and I'm really looking forward to them, going on to the University of Kentucky and and having great careers. They got a lot of work to do ahead of them, as they both know. But at the same time, I'm really excited to finish this year out, hopefully with a state championship, and then be able to see them, get college degrees and to play in the SEC.
Absolutely, Coach. Jagger, talk to me about this season and what it's meant to you.
It's weird how like everyone always talks about how like some could be taken away from you like so fast or whatever, and like it was always like football was like that solid thing that I never thought was going to get taken away from me, and being like young and naive and all that. So it was really like an eye opener for me. Like I'm blessed to be in the position I'm in regards to everything in football, and I'm blessed to even have the opportunity to play. There's kids out there that probably don't even know what football is and would love it if they knew what it was. So it was a blessing that we, were one of the many states who got to play this year. And Coach McPeak even brought it up from the beginning when practice started. Like, we're playing in honor of those states who can't play, and so we always, play with that on our back. So.
DeKel, man, you've had a great season as well, wide receiver for the Broncos. Talk to us about this season for you and what's it meant to you.
Well, it was kind of hard at the beginning of the season due to like COVID, but we overcame it, put in the work, and
yeah, like another thing that me and DeKel both struggled with a lot was, you practice all week and then you get to Thursday and then Coach McPeak calls you to like the D in the middle of the field and he's like, well, we're not going to get to play this week. They had a COVID incident or something, so that's a frustrating part of it. But we know in the playoffs we got to stay safe and do the extra part of it and keep from any COVID cases and all that. So,
yeah. Coach McPeak, we're in the playoffs now. I know you guys are trying to make your way back to Kroger Field and to play, in front of all the what we think will be a big crowd there. Even with the restrictions, spread out, you can spread a lot of people out there at Kroger Field. What is that going to mean for your team if you're able to walk through those tunnels again, Coach, and being able to play for a state championship?
Well, our motto for the 2020 team is finish. We've been lucky to be able to play, obviously, this year, and we've had a lot of adversity, more so than even maybe some other programs. So being at Kroger Field would be an awesome experience to do that again after last year and not getting it done. So that's obviously a big goal that we have is to finish the 2020 season the right way. But we have a lot of work ahead of us over the next couple of weeks, hopefully, and we can get that done.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I appreciate you all joining us here today on the Scholastic Ball Report. Jagger Burton, DeKel Crowdis, Coach Nathan McPeak. You guys are awesome, man, and good luck.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Proud of you guys.
Appreciate you having us. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
To play as scheduled or not to play? That was the question in front of the KHSAA Board of Control. The decision is full steam ahead. Practice starts December 14th. The KHSAA Board voted 12-5 in favor of keeping the plan for winter sports first approved in November. The board also voted 9-8 against scheduling the Sweet 16 tournaments in late April to early May. It was proposed by KHSAA Commissioner Julian Tackett to push back the boys and girls Sweet 16 tournaments to April 24th through May 9th for several reasons. But with winter sports starting their seasons in early January, Tackett did give this warning to the board about controlling crowd size.
My worry is if we're going to say we're going to go that first day, and it appears as though your discussion is about that, at least the first 2 weeks needs to be pretty restricted. Simply because that's that period coming off New Year. We've got to recognize that. And if we can't live with that attendance, then don't play the first 2 weeks. Push everything back to the third week.
My special guest this week is Rob Catron from the KHSAA. He's the Information Technology Director. Welcome in, Rob.
Well, thank you. Good to be here.
Rob, can you discuss a little bit about your role at the KHSAA? You do a variety of things and the importance of technology in pre and post pandemic.
Okay, well, there's a lot that people probably don't know. Probably half of my job is actually not dealing in events and so forth, where we have developed a very robust online system over the years, custom developed an online system to help the athletic administrators manage their coaches. I think we've got 40 some thousand records in there between coaches and athletic directors and so forth. And what it does, it helps them to give them the tools to track all the various bylaw 25 requirements, such as the state mandated sports safety course, to coaching education, to the rules clinics and so forth. And I guess I would primarily serve as the primary liaison with the athletic directors and helping them out and getting them to learn the system, and also as far as Title IX online reporting and so forth. So I think just giving them the tools and then being able to service them and train them, and that's a big part of my job that's non-event related. As far as the pandemic goes, a lot of the stuff when everybody hears about Zoom this and Zoom that, but we had sort of migrated to Zoom prior to the pandemic. I'm going to say in the early 2019 school year. I guess, that really didn't change for us. But what did really change is we did a drastic step, and it was a good step. It's very positive, is that we went to all digital ticketing. Now, that was a result of the pandemic, and so far all of our state championships, we no longer do cash. Everything is online advanced. And that's worked out really well. And it's our partner GoFan. It's a very quick and efficient way of getting people in. I think people really like it.
So talk a little bit about some of the important things you do during a state event or the state championships.
It depends a lot on the venues. Basically, now over the past 3 to 4 to 5 years, with online security and so forth becoming very, very, very crucial. It's always been crucial, but it's even more so now. A lot of facilities don't really like us on their network, and honestly, we like to have our own network. And so, by and large, we will, various partners we have throughout the state, we sometimes get our own internet put in. It may just be for a few days, or it may be for a week, however long the event is. And then I will set up our own local area network for our staff. It basically keeps us off of, it could keep us off of a school systems network, which may be limited. We're a content provider. We're not a content consumer so much. And we obviously have to get the message out via social media and tweeting and Facebook and so forth. And a lot of school systems will block that. So we do have to, in a lot of cases, put in our own network. So that's a pretty good job. I always say most of my event work is, technology-wise, is the days leading up, and then the days after. And during, it's all hands on deck, as we all are in our office. So, and just troubleshoot.
Well, thank you, Rob Catron, again from the KHSAA, the Information Technology Director. And if you've got any tech questions, get a hold of Rob. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, as always.
Our Sutherland Chevrolet Drive of the Week comes to us from the Franklin County Flyers, a regional champion for the first time since 1979. Franklin County went on the road to Johnson Central, and Nick Broyles hooks up with Fred Ferrier once and then connects with Zach Claudio, and that was the backbreaker as Franklin County knocks off the defending 4A state champions, and the Flyers will be in their first state title game next week. That is your Sutherland Chevrolet Drive of the Week.
And now from UK Sports Medicine and Healthcare, we have Dr. Benjamin Wilson, who's going to talk to us a little bit about ACL surgeries in youth sports.
Hi, thank you. So a little bit about my background before we get started on that. Like I said, I'm Dr. Wilson. I'm the newest member of the University of Kentucky Orthopedics and Sports Medicine group. I grew up in southern Indiana, played football and baseball at Columbus East High School before playing football at Kentucky Wesleyan College. Had a couple of injuries of my own, which kind of spurred me to go into medicine so that I could help the young athletes like the surgeons that helped me out. I did my medical training at Indiana University and then my orthopedic training here at the University of Kentucky. I was lucky enough to then go on to a fellowship, a subspecialization in pediatric sports medicine at Boston Children's Hospital. and Harvard Medical School. There we learned a lot of techniques treating the young athletes, both open and arthroscopic procedures of joints like the knee, shoulder, elbow, and ankle. And one of my true passions lies in the difference between the athlete. The biggest issue is the growth plates around the joints. And if you could show the first slide, these are two x-rays of two patients that I saw in clinic last week. On the left, you can see the growth plates that are still open around the knee, those gray lines above and below the knee joint. And on the right is hardware from a patient, an adult patient who had an ACL surgery. So we're seeing more and more of these ACL tears in kids, but if we treated them like we would treat a typical adult, you can see the tunnels and screws that we would put right where the growth plate grows. So we have a few techniques in our toolbox, and if you show the next slide, to prevent injury to those growth plates. So on the left is a procedure that was invented by my mentors there in Boston, where we take a strip of the iliotibial band on the outside of the knee and reconstruct the ACL without using any tunnels or hardware. So that procedure completely avoids the growth plate and is great for our youngest athletes. In the middle is a procedure that looks very similar to the typical adult style ACL reconstruction. However, we modify our tunnels and modify our hardware so to avoid placing screws across the growth plate. And that's great for our patients that have some growth, but not too much remaining. And then in the last picture is our typical adult reconstruction. So these are some great techniques that I employ in our kids that continue to have growth, but want to get back out on the field after an ACL reconstruction. I operate out of both University of Kentucky and the Shriners Hospital here in Lexington, and I'm happy to see any new patients that have injuries out on the football field.
You know, your addition this year, your 2020 football team, right in the thick of things. You're in the top 10 in the state. It always seems like that it comes down to Belfry and Central. Why, you two teams always battle it out. It seems that it's always, but I think you've got, how many titles is it now? 6 state championships?
We've got 7 now.
7 now.
Yeah.
Why do you think it always comes down to those two teams?
Well, it just kind of started off a few years ago where we played in one and had a great game, and it seemed like we played some classic games. We play right down to the wire. We went into overtime once, and a couple of games on both ends. I think they got us really good one year, and we got them pretty good one year. But overall, it was just great competition, and they were kind of on the western side of the state, and of course we were from the east. And that's the way it went for 8 or 10 years. Of course, now they've moved into Class 4A, so we'll play them during the in the playoffs. But next year we're scheduled to play during the regular season, so it'll be good to play them again because they're great competition. They always have great athletes, and they're very well coached.
Well, I want William Warfield. He'll do with the magic of TV. He's going to pull up your facility there at Belfry, your football field that sits in the cut into those mountains. Coach, you have a beautiful facility there at Belfry.
We certainly do. And we were very fortunate this year to be able to put new artificial turf down. We'd taken care of ours as well as you can take care of turf, and it was still playable. The turf people actually said you probably got 2 more years in this, and it was 14 years old, I think, at the time. Yeah. But our community really went to work in raising funds. We had a couple of guys who former players that went to bat for us and chipped in some big money to go along with what we raised to get it, because we just don't get tax money or school board support for these kind of things. We've always had to do that ourselves. So we're very pleased, very proud that we were able to accomplish this with the economy being what it was in Eastern Kentucky, with mining being as tough as it is. And we're very excited about it. But we do have a tremendous facility. It's not just football, but it's our school and the other parts of the academic and athletic programs.
Well, thank you, Coach Heywood. We appreciate you, and keep up the great work there with the kids at Belfry and Pike County. And we appreciate everything you do.
Well, thank you.
Well, that's our show for this week. And I'd like to give special thanks to William Warfield, our video streamer, for this production. Please tune in next week for our last show before the holidays. And remember, for those you see and those you don't see, you keep your eye on the Scholastic Ball Report.
The Scholastic Ball Report was sponsored by UK Sports Medicine and by Central Bank, Crown Trophy, Double Dogs, Ford Brothers Auction, Kentucky Orthodontics and Invisalign, La Rosa's Pizza, Mingy Beef Jerky, Panel Swim Shop, Prep Spin, P-Rats, Rafferty's, Raising Cane's, Roberts Insurance, Sutherland Chevrolet, and by Whitaker Bank.